Welcome back to Shed2Ed, Season 5. We're back to London. Looking forward to the main event. We got Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman trilogy. Excited for this one, Steve?
Yeah, I'm excited to put this one to bed. It started about 8 years ago now. Had a crazy match last time. Great seeing the rubber match coming out here now. I'd say both fighters are going to pull out all the stops, and we'll see who comes away with the belt.
That's right. Capping off the trilogy in London town for Season 5, Shed2Ed.
Let's go. A lot of similar faces back in London this time. A couple of fighters had their last fight over in London. So we'll see if they have any better luck this time around.
One of those fighters is Muhammad Mokaev. He's back in London. And we got our boy Jack Shore, heavy favorite against Makwan Amirkhani.
Yeah, Mokaev is just going to go off the next step in his journey. Rafael Fiallo is no slouch, though. He's a legit grappler, and he's a submission threat on the ground. You see Mokaev get caught with a couple of chokes from Malcolm Gordon the last time that they were in London, they're fighting. He was able to squeeze out of it. He's got great escape ability. So we'll see if Fiallo can catch him a little bit better, but most likely not.
You grab Juliana Miller, who is, I believe, a tough contestant winner. And then I'm grabbing Gunnar Nelson. I was very disappointed in Barberena, so I'm going to try to fade him a bit harder, fading Barberena this week.
Yeah, we see a lot of heavy favorites in the draft here this week on this card, but I wasn't really comfortable throughout this entire draft. I didn't really want to draft Juliana Miller this early. She didn't look that great in her last fight, but I'm more so fading Veronica on this one, and I'll just play it with the odds.
I think Veronica's 1-4 in the UFC right now.
Yeah, she's 1-4 in the UFC. So Miller's on her way up, Veronica's on her way down, and we'll see their paths cross there. And, you know, Gunnar Nelson and Brian Barberena, both of them have 4, 5, 6 losses in the UFC each, something like that. So this fight can go either way. I wasn't comfortable with those heavy odds there in Gunnar either.
Pretty early, but I scooped down to grab Rafael Fiziev. I did place a bet on Gaethje. I like Gaethje at plus 180, so I just took both sides of the line with Fiziev. And you took Sam Patterson. Are you feeling confident in him, or is it, again, another iffy pick? Minus 300, very steep, but is that false odds?
Well, I'm not really sure. Yanal Ashmaz, I didn't see anything about this fighter. He wasn't coming out of Dana White Contender Series. He wasn't coming out of any promotion that I was familiar of. I didn't catch any tape on him. But I liked what I seen from Sam Patterson coming out of Dana White Contender Series. And, you know, he's a long, rangy guy. He knows how to use his range, which is the most important thing. Got some heavy elbows, got some good kicks on him. So I'll just lean with the bookies on this one pretty much and keep running down the line. And I don't blame you at all for the Fiziev taking both sides of that line. I'm really excited to see that matchup. Fiziev is absolutely electric, and so is Gaethje.
Next set of picks. I like Marvin Vettori. I'm kind of voting with my heart a little bit. I like Fiziev. I like Vettori. I don't know if I should be reconsidering some of these picks. What made you lean Jake Headley over Malcolm Gordon? Very heavy for Headley, by the way, north of minus 300.
Yeah, well, that's it too. I mean, I liked what I seen from Headley. He's decent on the ground. He's a submission threat. He's probably going to roll around with Malcolm Gordon, and we just seen Malcolm Gordon get out wrestled by Mokaev. Now, it was a big difference in the talent there, but I think that Headley is probably going to be able to outpace Gordon on the ground, probably grind out a decision by maintaining top control there. So I was comfortable in the 4th round grabbing Headley. So I wasn't too bad with that one.
Next round, even though Kamaru, former pound-for-pound #1 guy, very late to be drafted this time around, and I took both Chris Dunkins in the draft. They're both on the fave side, mostly for convenience. I don't really have much to say about either Chris Duncan.
I'm pretty pleased with getting Usman down in the 5th round of this draft. I mean, everyone's cautious because of what Rocky Edwards did last fight with the head kick. Absolutely crazy. But the first 4.5 rounds of that fight was absolute domination by Kamaru. So as long as he doesn't make the same slip up or some other mistake, he'll either cruise to a decision or maybe he won't play with his food this time around and he'll try and work a finish on Edwards somehow.
As far as Chris Duncan goes, I saw him take a couple of shots, land a real strong one on the Contender Series. Saw Chris get that ground and pound win over Charlie Campbell, so he can hit people and hopefully not get hit too many times in there, but just an iffy pick. not loving this draft. We had a very unsuccessful draft last week. We went a combined 6 and 7. So just maybe not feeling the magic so hard this week.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I mean, most cards we lean on dogs a lot. Last week we didn't really, and that was when the dogs were barking. So we'll see if they're back again this week, because we have another dog-filled slate coming up for UFC 286 gambling picks.
Deep in the draft, despite a 3-fight skid, you took Joanne Wood, and then I grabbed Casey O'Neill. Casey's kind of on the up and up. Jennifer Maia's got like 10 fights in the UFC to Casey's 4 fights, but the 2-to-1 odds, people are really backing Casey O'Neill as the next big thing in the weight division.
Joanne Wood on the 3-fight skid. I mean, I'm not excited from what I've seen from her recently, but at least she was fighting good competition, as opposed to Luana Carolina, that was just getting absolutely meatballed the last time that she was out in London. Surprised she's even making the trip back there after that horrible spinning back fist got her in the 3rd round last time. But I'm just taking the lesser of two evils on this one. You know, Joanne has great experience. Maybe she's going to come back and look for a win off a weaker opponent and ride off in the sunset on a win. Maybe that's the narrative I'm going to play with there. But that fight's totally up in the air.
Again, Chris Duncan, I got nothing to say. Lerone Murphy and Jai Herbert were your last 2 picks around at the draft. What made you lean Murphy and what made you lean Herbert?
I wasn't sure which way I was going to lean on this one. I liked what Santos brings to the table, but he's coming out of the LFA. Now he's the LFA champion, but of course he's fighting weaker competition. And Lerone Murphy has been in the UFC, and he is undefeated. Both fighters are undefeated, but I think I'm chalking it up to strength of schedule here for Lerone Murphy. The only thing that kind of worries me is he was getting outmatched. He was getting out wrestled all throughout the fight last time that he was out there, and he just played it smart, caught his opponent with a knee on an incoming takedown, and then knocked him out cold. So he was maybe lucky to get a win out of that one, but he makes good adjustments. He's smart. He's undefeated for a reason. So we'll see if he carries that through. And Herbert, I like Herbert a lot coming up here now. He's fought some hard competition, so he's down a little bit fighting against Klein, who had lost a couple recently, but had a good showing last time he was out in London against Mason Jones. But Klein calls himself Mr. Highlight, and I don't think we're really going to be able to see that coming out this time. I think Herbert's going to be able to stuff a lot of the things that he does. He's going to not engage as much with Klein and play with him at range, because he does have the height and reach advantage.
I'd like to see Joanne get back in the win column. She was pretty close to a title shot a couple of losses ago. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, she just got choked out by Grasso, I think her last time out, and then Talia Santos the time before that, who was Shevchenko's last 2 opponents. So she's up there in the competition, but of course she's getting finished in the first round. So what can you say about that? Luana Carolina, I don't have much confidence in her. She is a lot younger than Wood, so maybe she had a lot of more time to improve during this camp. So we'll see how that fares.
It's a pretty deep card, actually. Then we've got the Malcolm Gordon fight. Malcolm at plus 300, maybe sprinkle on there for the gambling picks. And then you've got the Chris Leroy Duncan fight and the Lerone Murphy fight. A lot of UK representation on the card as well.
Yeah, London stand up for this. I'm excited to see what Malcolm Gordon can do. I know he's been training his heart out. He must have done that last time to fight Makaev. He's going to keep the same sort of camp this time going forward, because Hadley likes to roll around on the ground with him, and he's going to see if he can catch him in some kind of sub or have better stand-up ability, anything like that. I'm looking to see what Malcolm Gordon shows out there. But I'm also excited to see what Dushko can do against a brand new opponent in Christian Leroy Duncan. His wins in the UFC come against guys with a combined record of 3-14 in the UFC. So he's not beating up very good guys. But if you look at his losses, he's getting chances against high-level guys. So I don't know if this is going to be one that he takes out an easy new opponent, or he just gets absolutely wrecked and we see the ascension of Christian Leroy Duncan from here on out. Not really sure there. And I'll tell you what, Lerone Murphy and Gabriel Santos, I'm excited to watch that fight. That should be exciting. Santos is a high-energy guy. Murphy is a smart guy. We'll see Santos push the pace on this one, but Murphy's not going anywhere. Americani was dominating Lerone Murphy in the last fight for both of them, and it just turned around at one point there. Makwan was out wrestling him. Murphy knew that he was going to go for the takedown, and then just landed the knee perfect on the chin there and knocked him out cold. We'll see if he clears up his game a little bit there. He's got a lot of veteran expertise that he might bring it to the table there against Jack Shore, but I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to take down Jack.
You're running a parlay with Jack Shore and Muhammad Makayev, is that right?
That is right. I placed that really early on because I assumed the lines would change. Usually these heavy wrestlers like Makayev, and you get them at 1.12, 1.13 early on the week. They get blown out. They go down to 1.1, 1.08 later on. And it's not a big difference in the decimal gambling picks, but it's a big difference between, say, minus 800 and minus 1,200 on the American odds there. So it's good to lock those in early. I just didn't know much about Jack Shore's opponents or Makayev's opponents, and the more that I watch on this, the less comfortable that I feel. I mean, if you haven't tailed it yet, have a look, see if you can get the odds, and maybe play it for half unit.
We're here on the main card. I would like to see Barberena get back in the win column, and I would like to see Marvin Vettori get back in the win column as well. I believe he's coming off of a loss.
Roman Dolidze is for real. He is probably a top 5 guy coming up here, so it's going to be pretty dangerous. He is streaking lately, and he's got power and versatility, and he's going to make it a dangerous fight for Vettori. So we'll see how that one plays out.
Maya O'Neal, just the flyweight division, churning out some more fights. Definitely room at the top now that Shevchenko has been dethroned. We might see a little push by a lot of the contenders to get their name in the mix at women's 125. And then we got the co-main event, Gaethje Fiziev, really a high-action fight. You know, the over-under is at like 1.5 rounds. And then we got the Edwards-Usman fight, over-unders at 4.5 rounds. We're going to see very different paces between these two fights.
Yeah, absolutely. That Gaethje fight against Fiziev, both guys absolutely electric. Fiziev is such a versatile striker, comes in with these crazy kicks. He's got wild pace. He's got wild punches. And Gaethje is just going to be hanging in the pocket, swinging, countering. Fiziev's probably going to be pushing, and Gaethje's just going to throw counter after counter after counter. Neither guy is really proficient in the ground game very much. I'd say they do mostly defensive work there, but we'll see. We might see some pressure up against the fence. Hopefully not too much clinch there. And, you know, I would be kind of surprised to see this one go 1.5 rounds. That'll mean that one of them got a big chin on him, I'd say.
I don't want to call a long fight, but you're leaning short for the main event. I think that it could turn into a pure point fighting affair. I'm not looking forward to that happening, but I believe it's completely possible that these guys just spend at least 2 full rounds point fighting in that cage for the main event.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these guys that fight in the 5-round fights, they're used to fighting in the 5-round fights. They use the first couple of rounds for mostly range finding and feinting to see what their opponents got in their bag of tricks there. So it's mind games for the first couple, especially Usman. He likes to do that a lot. I'm not sure which way this is going to go after the turnout from last time. He was working Edwards for the first 4.5 rounds exquisitely, and he was perfectly planning out his game there until he got caught with that head kick. So I don't know if he's going to be trying to get him on the ground and wrestle him or sub him, try and mix some of that in to neutralize Leon's striking ability. And I don't know what Leon's got up his sleeve this time. You know, if he's going to be trying to feint and lead Kamaru into that head kick, what has he got in store this time?
That's right. Definite mind games. You've got so much cage time against each other. They've got over 7 rounds in the cage together. So, like, what chess game are they going to be playing on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, I'm excited to find out. Whichever way that one goes, it's going to be a good one.
As I mentioned earlier, you got Makayev and Shore. I mentioned you also like Malcolm Gordon this week, and you're leaning on Gaethje landing that counter punch. Even get a little Brian Barberena action. A lot of dogs on the card in your gambling picks this week.
Yeah, we got some darts to be thrown at the board here. I liked a lot of the odds on these ones. I did like some other dogs, but I didn't like the odds. So we'll run down through a couple of things there now. So Makayev and Shore, I grabbed that one super early, so I don't know if these odds have changed or not yet. Try and get the best odds that you can if you will tail this parlay, and just be careful. I got the hedge down on the bottom here. Fiallo by sub at the plus 1,600. He's a legit threat. Now, obviously, Makayev has a generational talent on the ground there in lightweight, but you don't know what Fiallo newcomer is going to do there. So we'll see how that one works out for me. Usman Edwards under 4.5. I mostly just like the odds on this one. We've seen a knockout last time around, but it was past 4.5 rounds, I believe. Jay Herbert. I liked what I seen from Jay Herbert earlier. The odds shifted up and down a little bit, landed at around 2.65 when I grabbed him there. He's got the range and he's got some decent experience in the cage there. He's got a couple of losses against good competition, but he looked decent while he was doing it. So as long as he can avoid getting knocked out, keep his chin back. Klein's last fight, he was standing in the pocket. Just two of the guys were just swinging at each other, but that's Klein's game, and that's how he would win that one. But if Herbert's careful and if he picks his punches and kicks, he'll probably come out of this one with a victory. Roman Dolidze, I'm a big fan of him. He looks great in the cage. Now, obviously, Vettori is great himself there, but 3.05 odds. The dogs are speaking to me this week. Wood, Jojo Wood and Luana Carolina. I didn't like anything that I seen from these fighters recently at all. They're both coming off of getting finished, and they both have had quite a while since their last finish win. I don't know what's going to happen here, but 3.40 odds. I think one of these fighters is going to have some urgency. They're going to be feeling the need to have some kind of comeback after their most recent losses there and really push the pace and try and get a staple win there. Brian Barberina, we're liking the dogs. This is a journeyman going up against a journeyman. I like 3.7 odds for this one to swing Barberina's way. Malcolm Gordon, he didn't look bad the last time I seen him there, and his opponent isn't all that special. 3.85, we get the plus 285 on this one. I like it for that price point. Justin Gaethje, you mentioned that you grabbed Justin Gaethje money line for about plus 170, 175. I think that's where he's landing around right now. But Gaethje by KO, I mean, he's got that power. And if this over-under is set at 1.5 rounds, we can see a first-round knockout by Gaethje, and it would not surprise me at all. So I'll take the small 0.3 unit play on that one there. And, of course, my hedge on Makayev parlay, Fiallo by sub. I think this is legitimately possible, so I'll pretty much break even if that happens.
After London, we are back stateside in Miami for another Adesanya fight, this time fighting rematch Alex Pereira and Gilbert Burns fighting Jorge Masvidal. I'm looking forward to both of those fights. They should be pretty decent.
Yeah, this should be pretty exciting. Pereira is a pleasure to watch, and so is Adesanya. Just getting two of these guys back in the cage is going to be entertaining, absolutely. And Gilbert Burns versus Masvidal, that one's going to be pretty sick too. Burns, extremely talented, and Masvidal is he'll catch something by surprise. He'll come out with something crazy, and he's going to give you that wow factor on the card. So that's going to be a fun one too.
Of course, Holloway Allen. I'll keep hyping this one up all month. Let's go, baby. Holloway Allen.
Yeah, love watching Holloway fight. Let's go, Holloway Allen, baby.
Let's go.
Let's go.